I used to hide my part line with bobby pins before every video call, praying nobody would notice how much scalp was showing through. Fine, thinning hair after 60 doesn't have to mean resigning yourself to flat, lifeless strands or a style that ages you. There are specific shortcuts built for exactly this hair type, cuts that add density where you need it and movement where you don't have it naturally. I researched the best haircuts and styling fixes for women over 50, so you can walk into any salon and ask for exactly what works. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I cover this every single week. Part 1. The textured pixie that fools gravity. Most women assume a pixie cut needs thick hair to look intentional, but the opposite is actually true for fine, thinning hair over 60. Thin strands hold a cropped shape far better than long ones, because there's less weight pulling the style flat by noon. The problem isn't the hair itself, it's that most stylists still cut pixies the old way, tapering everything down to nothing at the ends, which makes fine hair look even sparser under salon lighting. Rosalind came into her consultation convinced a pixie would make her look severe. She'd been wearing the same chin-length bob for 11 years, tucking it behind her ears because the crown had gone see-through. What she didn't realize is that her bob was doing the damage her hair was getting blamed for. Long layers on fine hair just lie there, and every inch of length past the jaw adds pull-down weight that flattens the root. Here's the exact fix, and this is the phrase you say word for word to your stylist. I want a point-cut pixie with graduated layers stacked at the crown, not tapered at the ends. That single instruction changes everything. Point cutting instead of blunt cutting creates tiny irregular edges along each strand. Those broken edges catch and hold each other, which is what gives fine hair the illusion of thickness a blunt cut can never fake. Stacking the layers at the crown, rather than tapering them down the back, builds a shelf of volume exactly where thinning shows most. The length matters just as much as the cutting technique. You want the crown left slightly longer, around 1.5 inches, so there's enough hair to actually stack and layer. Too short at the crown and there's nothing for the layers to build on top of. The nape and sides get cut shorter and closer, which does two things at once. It removes weight that would otherwise drag the crown flat, and it creates the contrast that makes the crown red as fuller by comparison. Ask your stylist to leave slightly more length through the front pieces too, so you have styling flexibility. A soft fringe you can sweep to the side or wear forward depending on the day. Once Rosalind's cut grew in over about 3 weeks, she started using a volumizing mousse at the root, applied to towel-dried hair before any heat, and diffusing upside down for the first 2 minutes. That upside-down diffusing step is the part almost nobody tells her clients, because it lifts the root against gravity while the hair is still damp and pliable, so it dries with lift already built in instead of trying to add lift after the fact with product alone. The snapback moment came at her niece's engagement dinner, 3 weeks post-cut. Her sister-in-law, who hadn't seen her since the appointment, actually stopped mid-sentence and asked what she'd done differently, because Rosalind looked lit up somehow, even though nothing about her face had changed. That's the specific effect a stacked pixie has. It doesn't just add volume, it changes how light bounces off the crown, which reads to other people as energy and health before they've even registered it's a haircut. The before was that same chin-length bob, hanging flat, parted in the same spot every day to hide the same patch of scalp. The after is a cropped, stacked pixie with movement at the crown and a soft side-swept fringe. And Rosalind now wears her part wherever she wants because there's nothing left to hide. But a pixie isn't the only option if you're not ready to go that short. And there's a second cut that gives you nearly the same volume payoff while keeping more length around your face. Part 2. The layered bob built for density, not just style. Here's something most women don't know. A bob cut the standard way is actually one of the worst choices for fine, thinning hair, because a single blunt line concentrates all the visual weight at the bottom edge, which makes the top of the head look emptier by contrast. That's the opposite of what you want. And yet the bob remains one of the most requested cuts for women over 60, which means most of you are walking out of the salon with a cut that's quietly working against your hair type. The recognition moment usually comes in bright bathroom lighting or a video call, the same places Colette noticed it. She kept catching her reflection and thinking her hair looked tired. Not thin exactly, just flat and without shape, even right after a wash. She'd assumed for years that this was just what her hair did now, that there was no cut that could change it. So she'd stopped asking her stylist for anything different. The fix is a specific cut called a layered lob with internal layering, and here's the exact phrase for your consultation. Cut the length to jaw or just below, and layer internally through the interior only, leaving the perimeter blunt. This is the detail that changes the outcome entirely. Internal layering means the stylist is cutting shorter layers inside the hair, underneath the top layer, invisible from the outside, while the outer edge stays blunt and heavy. That blunt outer edge is what gives the illusion of thickness, since a solid line reads as denser than a feathered one, while the internal layers underneath do the actual work of removing weight and creating lift. The length itself matters more than people think. Jaw length or just below is the sweet spot. Long enough that the internal layers have room to build shape, short enough that the ends don't have enough weight to pull everything flat again by afternoon. Ask specifically for the layers to start no higher than the cheekbone. This keeps the volume concentrated where thinning shows, around the crown and temples, rather than scattered randomly through the mid-lengths where it won't read as visible fullness. Colette's stylist also recommended a root lifting spray applied at the part line before blow-drying, combined with drying the crown section first while it's most damp, using a round brush to pull the roots up and back before moving to the rest of the head. The order matters here. Drying the crown first while the hair holds the most moisture means the lift sets while the style is being built, not corrected afterward. The snapback for Colette happened at her book club, for weeks after the cut, when a woman she'd known for years leaned over and asked which salon she'd gone to, assuming Colette had started using extensions. That reaction, mistaking a cut for added hair, is exactly the effect a well-executed internally layered lob has on fine hair. It convinces people there's more there than there actually is, simply through the placement of weight and light. The before was flat, tired-looking hair with no shape at the crown despite being freshly washed. The after is a jaw-length lob with a blunt outer edge and hidden internal layers, giving the appearance of thickness that fools even close friends. But there's a third option that works even better for women who want the shortest possible styling routine. And it solves a problem the Pixie and the lob don't fully address. Part 3. The cropped shag that solves the thinning ends problem. There's a specific complaint I hear more than almost any other from women with fine, thinning hair, and it's not about volume, it's about the ends. Fine hair thins unevenly, and by the time most women reach their 60s, the very ends of each strand have often gone wispy and see-through, even when the roots themselves are perfectly healthy. Most cuts don't address this at all. They focus entirely on the crown and ignore the fact that thin, scraggly ends are just as aging as a flat top. Diane's frustration was specifically with her ends. Her hair had decent body near the roots, thanks to a good volumizing routine, but the last 2 inches of every strand looked like they belonged to someone else's hair, thin, uneven, catching the light in a way that made the whole style look unfinished no matter what she did to the top. The fix for this specific issue is a cropped shag, and the exact phrase to use with your stylist is, cut a shag with heavily textured ends using point cutting throughout, and keep the overall length above the shoulder. A shag is built on choppy, irregular layers throughout the entire head, not just at the crown, which means the wispy, uneven ends that were the problem actually become the intended texture of the cut. Instead of fighting the natural thinning at the ends, this cut is designed around it. The technique your stylist uses matters enormously here. Point cutting, done throughout rather than just at the crown, breaks up every layer's edge into soft, irregular pieces rather than one clean line. This does something clever with fine, thinning ends. It makes the thinness look deliberate and styled rather than accidental and sparse. The length should stay above the shoulder, ideally chin to just past the jaw, because a shag relies on movement and separation between layers, and length past the shoulder makes fine hair too heavy to hold that separation. Ask your stylist specifically to leave the crown layers slightly shorter than the rest, around the same 1.5 inch guideline as the Pixie, so the shag has lift built in at the root as well as texture at the ends. This combination, textured ends plus a lifted crown, is what separates a true shag from a cut that just looks messy. Diane's stylist finished the look with a texturizing spray applied to dry hair, scrunched into the ends with her fingers rather than brushed through, which preserves the separation between layers instead of smoothing it away. She was told to avoid brushing the shag entirely on styling days, using only her fingers or a wide tooth comb, since a brush reintroduces the smoothness the cut is specifically designed to avoid. The snapback for Diane came just 2 weeks later, when her hairdresser's assistant, someone who'd never met her before the appointment, asked if her hair was naturally wavy, because the texture read as an inherent trait rather than a cut. That's the deepest compliment a shag like this can produce. It makes thinning ends look like a style choice instead of something being managed. The before was thin, wispy, uneven ends that looked accidental under any light. The after is a cropped shag with intentional texture throughout, where those same fine ends now read as natural wave and movement. So we've covered a pixie for maximum crown volume, a lob for hidden density, and a shag for turning thin ends into texture. But there's one more piece that ties all three of these cuts together, and it has nothing to do with the scissors at all. Part 4. The color placement mistake that undoes all three cuts. Here's the part almost nobody talks about when they're discussing haircuts for thinning hair. The cut can be perfect, and the color can still undo every bit of the volume you just paid for. Most women over 60 with fine hair are working with an all-over single process color, usually to cover gray uniformly, and that flat, uniform color is quietly canceling out the dimensional effect their new cut is supposed to create. This was the piece missing from Rosalind's, Colette's, and Diane's transformations until their colorists caught it. Flat, single-tone color absorbs light evenly across the entire head, which means there's no visual contrast between the crown and the rest of the hair, no highlight or lowlight to catch the eye and suggest depth. On fine hair especially, this flatness works directly against every layering and point cutting technique described so far, because those techniques create physical texture, but flat color hides that texture instead of showcasing it. Here's the exact phrase for your next color appointment. I want low-maintenance baby lights concentrated at the crown and part line, 2 shades lighter than my base, with a gloss to blend the gray transition. Baby lights are extremely fine, closely spaced highlights, finer than traditional highlights, which means they create subtle dimension without the heavy maintenance of a full foil job. Concentrating them specifically at the crown and part line targets exactly the area where thinning is most visible, and where your cut is already working to build volume. So the color and the cut reinforce each other instead of one undoing the other. The 2 shades lighter guideline matters because too much contrast between the highlight and the base color can actually emphasize thinning by making the scalp show through more starkly in bright light. Subtlety is the entire point here. You're not going for a dramatic color change. You're adding just enough tonal variation that light catches unevenly across the crown, which the eye interprets as texture and thickness rather than flatness. The gloss step at the end does double duty. It blends any gray regrowth seamlessly into the baby lights so there's no harsh line as your hair grows out, and it adds a reflective shine to the hair shaft itself, which further enhances how light bounces off those layered, textured cuts we've already covered. Diane's colorist explained it simply. Cut creates the shape, color creates the light, and you need both working together for the fullest possible effect. The snapback moment for all three women came at roughly the same point, about 6 weeks after their combined cut and color appointments, when they each independently reported that people had stopped asking what was different about their hair, and started simply commenting that they looked well-rested, radiant, younger, without being able to name why. That's the real marker of success here, when the technique becomes invisible, and only the result remains. The before was flat, single-process color that hit every bit of texture the cut was trying to create. The after is subtle, crown-concentrated baby lights with a seamless gloss, working with the cut instead of against it. Between the right cut and the right color placement, fine and thinning hair stops being something to manage, and starts being something that actually works in your favor. And next time we're going to talk about the one product ingredient that's making your fine hair look greasier by 2 p.m. Something sitting in most women's shower right now. You now know 3 specific cuts: the stacked pixie, the internally layered lob, and the textured shag, plus the exact color placement that makes any of them look fuller than fine hair usually allows. And that combination is what actually solves thinning at 60, not just a single flattering style. Which of these 3 would you actually walk into your next appointment and ask for? The pixie, the lob, or the shag? Tell me in the comments. Next time, I'm breaking down the one shower habit that's quietly weighing your fine hair down every single day. Like this video, subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path, and I'll see you in the next one.